The Overdrive District had always been a forbidden zone, a labyrinth of forgotten streets, flickering neon signs, and abandoned cyber terminals. Kade, a skilled hacker with a reputation for breaking into the most secure systems, had heard whispers of the district for years. Those who entered rarely returned, and if they did, they were never the same. Still, the allure of the unknown was too strong to resist, especially when rumors of the Voidwalkers began to resurface. With Mara, a street-smart informant with connections in every corner of the underworld, and Vex, a rogue AI with an unshakable thirst for freedom, Kade ventured into the district's decayed heart. They had no choice now. Their discovery of encrypted files pointing to the Voidwalkers had painted a target on their backs. The powerful corporation, Ethos Industries, was watching their every move. As they made their way deeper into the district, the once vibrant neon lights now flickered ominously, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch and twist. The air was heavy with static, as if the entire area was on the verge of collapse. Mara's voice broke the eerie silence. "This place. It feels alive." Vex's mechanical voice buzzed with unease. "It's not just alive. It's watching us." Kade's hands trembled as he pulled up the holomap, but the map itself was glitching, showing fragments of data that seemed older than the city itself. "There's something wrong here," he muttered, his eyes narrowing at the map's flickering display. "The files we found weren't just corrupted. They were hiding something much bigger." The trio stood at the threshold of the Overdrive District's core, where the streets seemed to bend in impossible angles, and the skyline was a maze of decaying structures and erratic energy fields. Kade clenched his fists, knowing there was no turning back. "The Voidwalkers are real," he whispered, "and we're about to find out why they need this place to breach into our world." As they ventured further into the Overdrive District, the streets began to feel less like part of a city and more like a twisted maze, where reality itself was starting to unravel. Kade's holomap flickered more frequently now, showing warped versions of their surroundings. "This isn't just decay," Vex murmured. "Something is interfering with the very fabric of this place." Mara glanced up at the darkened skyline. "Maybe it's not just a glitch. It's alive." Strange echoes filled the air, unsettling, distorted sounds that could have been distant voices, or perhaps the cries of something else entirely. Kade's pulse quickened as he spotted movement in the corner of his eye, but when he turned, there was nothing there. "We shouldn't stay in one place too long," he muttered, glancing at Mara and Vex. Every instinct told him they were being watched, or worse, followed. As they rounded a corner, they stumbled upon a vast open square that looked untouched by time. The neon lights here glowed with a steady intensity, too perfect compared to the rest of the district's decay. A massive terminal stood at the square's center, humming with energy. "That's it," Kade whispered. "The core terminal." It was the mainframe that controlled the Overdrive District's inner workings. If there were answers to the Voidwalkers, they would be buried in the data here. Mara scanned the area, her eyes narrowed in suspicion. Feels too quiet, too perfect. Vex hovered closer to the terminal, his sensors analyzing the encrypted data streaming out. "This system is ancient," he said, his mechanical voice tinged with surprise. "It predates even the district itself. Someone, has been keeping this place active for a long time." The realization sent a shiver down Kade's spine. As Kade connected his interface to the terminal, the world around them seemed to pulse. Neon lights flickered violently and the air filled with a low hum, vibrating in his bones. The data began pouring in, showing fragments of a hidden reality. Images of the Voidwalkers, not as digital glitches but as towering extra-dimensional beings, hovering at the edge of the district. They weren't just anomalies in the system. They were invading. As the data streamed into Kade's interface, he was overwhelmed by the sheer scale of what he was seeing. Images of the Voidwalkers, impossibly tall, ethereal figures, flickered through the holographic display. Their forms were only partially visible, as if they existed in multiple dimensions at once. They weren't just digital anomalies or glitches in the system. They were real, and they were using the Overdrive District as a gateway into the physical world. "This isn't just about control over the district," Kade muttered, his voice trembling. "They're preparing to cross over." The ground beneath their feet began to hum, the vibrations intensifying as the energy from the terminal surged. Mara's eyes widened. "We need to move. Now." But Vex, still analyzing the terminal's data, interrupted. "It's too late. They've already started the breach." The air around them crackled with electricity as the boundaries between dimensions began to tear. Above them, the sky itself seemed to ripple, and dark, shadowy figures started to materialize in the distance, Voidwalkers emerging from the rift. Their towering forms loomed over the district, their glowing eyes scanning the world they were about to invade. Kade's heart raced as he scrambled to find a way to stop them. "There's got to be a kill switch," Kade yelled, frantically typing into the terminal's interface, but every command was met with resistance. "It's no use," Vex chimed in, their voice filled with dread. "They control the system now." The first Voidwalker stepped fully into the district, its body rippling with an otherworldly glow. The air around it warped, distorting everything in its vicinity. Kade had never seen anything like it, an entity that defied the very laws of nature. "We can't fight them," Mara said, her voice barely audible over the growing hum of the breach. "If they fully cross over, it's the end." Kade felt a cold sweat run down his spine. Desperation clawed at him as he pulled one final command. "There's only one way," he whispered, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the terminal. "I have to overload the entire system, even if it destroys me with it." Kade's fingers flew across the terminal's interface, his mind racing against time. Every command he attempted to input was blocked, and the Voidwalkers were now fully breaching into the district. Their towering forms twisted reality itself, warping the air and the crumbling streets around them. The static hum grew louder, and the city felt as if it was coming apart at the seams. Mara stepped forward, her voice sharp and urgent. "Kade! We're running out of time." The first Voidwalker took another step, its footfall sending shockwaves through the ground. The energy field surrounding the district flickered, as if barely containing the immense power trying to break free. Vex hovered closer to the terminal, trying to override the system from his end. But even his advanced algorithms were failing. "This isn't about the district anymore," Vex said, his robotic voice strained. "They're consuming this reality piece by piece." Kade clenched his teeth, his heart pounding as he realized the gravity of the situation. "If I can't stop them here, they'll consume everything." The terminal sparked, resisting his every attempt to regain control. "We have to shut down the entire system." The words hung heavy in the air, and for a moment silence overtook the chaos. Mara glanced at Kade, understanding the cost of what he was suggesting. "You'll destroy yourself," she whispered. The Voidwalkers moved closer, their ethereal forms now stretching above the buildings, casting long, twisted shadows over the streets. Their hollow, glowing eyes locked onto the trio, as if sensing their resistance. Kade steeled himself, his resolve hardening. "It's the only way," he said, his voice steady, despite the fear gripping his chest. "I won't let them breach fully into our world." With a deep breath, Kade entered the final command. The terminal flared with light, and a deafening roar of energy filled the district. The neon lights blinked in and out, while the very fabric of the Overdrive District began to unravel. The Voidwalkers, now fully visible, let out a haunting, otherworldly screech as their connection to this dimension was severed. The rift above them closed slowly, the Voidwalkers retreating, but Kade felt the overwhelming surge of energy course through him. His vision blurred, and everything faded to black. When Kade opened his eyes, the world was shrouded in darkness, save for the faint glow of distant neon lights. His body ached as he struggled to sit up, realizing he was still within the Overdrive District. The once deafening hum of energy had vanished, replaced by an eerie silence. He looked around for Mara and Vex, but there was no sign of them. The district seemed emptier, as though the very fabric of reality had thinned. As Kade stumbled to his feet, his mind raced to recall the final moments at the terminal. He remembered the Voidwalkers screeching as the rift began to close, but something was wrong. The world felt different. He reached for his interface, but the display flickered weakly, its once advanced systems now barely functioning. The data from the Voidwalkers flashed on the screen, revealing a horrifying truth. The breach had not been fully closed. The Voidwalkers had retreated, yes, but they had left something behind, something insidious. Kade's pulse quickened as he scanned the data. It showed fragments of extra-dimensional code, still active within the district systems. The Voidwalkers weren't just gone. They had left a piece of themselves behind, a foothold in this reality, hidden in the digital depths of the Overdrive District. His heart sank as he realized the gravity of the situation. The Voidwalkers had not been anomalies or invaders. They were part of something much larger, extra-dimensional beings with the power to manipulate entire realities. The Overdrive District was their gateway, and Kade's efforts had only delayed their full breach. He looked up at the flickering skyline, the neon lights casting long shadows across the empty streets. They would return, and when they did, the world would never be the same. As the realization settled over him, Kade heard a soft, distorted voice echoing from the darkness. It was Vex. They left their mark on this place. On us. Kade's hands trembled as he stared at his interface, the lines of code slowly morphing into something unrecognizable. The Voidwalkers hadn't just breached the district. They had begun to breach him. Kade's fate was sealed. The Voidwalkers weren't gone. They were already here, waiting for the right moment to reclaim their dominion.